Hi and welcome to Podpadstudios. So we are back in the workshop. This weekend that's just gone, we've had open studios, well the first weekend of open studios, and it was absolutely epic. We've had hundreds of people come through the door down at the Carriage Works in Swindon, and it was just amazing. So at the moment you would think, oh, the workshop is bare, there's nothing in it. I've probably got more stuff in the workshop now than I actually ever had before. How we're actually going to fit all the stuff back in here from the Carriage Works, I don't know. But anyway, this is the latest creation. This is going to be a 1/4 scale of the Rosenbauer Panther 6x6 airport crash tender. Now there is a reason we're doing it, but I'm not going to tell you what it is at the moment. Hopefully that will become a little bit clearer as the build videos go on, and you can kind of get an idea of why it's being done the way it is. I've done a little bit of work on it. I'm using the same idea that I did with the tank transporter, in that I'm using a trans-axle gearbox affair from a mobility scooter, and obviously I've grafted in these are 200mm kind of mountain board style wheels. It's all very raw at the moment, and obviously you can see I've got the chassis. If you've been following my blog, you've seen that I've got actually adjustable suspension on this one, so it's all fully adjustable suspension, because in here, it's going to have to carry a considerable amount of water. Now, again, I'm not going to explain why. You're going to have to kind of keep watching to understand why, what I'm actually going to do. And then, obviously, with this one, I'm building a kind of a space frame. It's quite light at the moment, and I'm going to use quite a lot on this one of wood and aluminium, because otherwise, it's just going to be intensely. If I just use this same 2mm, well, this is actually 1.2mm. steel plate. If I use the same steel plate that I did for the other stuff, it's just going to be too heavy. So there's a lot of kind of perspex and glass at the front of this anyway. So yeah, it's going to be a mixture of materials for this one. It's going to be epic. It's going to be really, really good. It's a little bit bigger than I actually anticipated. I think it's nearly 2 meters long by 60 wide by about 50, yeah, about 50 high. Centimetres, 500mm. Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of work on this one. There's no rush on this one at the moment, because what it's going to be used for, it doesn't need to be used for what it's going to be used for until effectively almost in the new year. So I've got plenty of time to play around and do this. So there's loads of time that you'll be able to see me and follow me building and doing things on this one. So there we have it at the moment. You can see I'm back in the workshop and building. In a couple of hours, I'm back down into Carriage Works, because we've got all sorts of things going on all week down there. This video probably won't go out between the Open Studios events, but if it does, if you want to see our props and you want to see everything, all the bigger stuff together, pop down to the Carriage Works in Swindon. It's a completely free event, and you just basically, it's Saturday and Sunday of the 28th and the 29th of September. Pop in and come and say hello and come and see the stuff. As I said, it's completely free. Anyway, I'm going to get on and I'm going to do some work. Right, so you can see here, I'm going to start cutting some of the wood. So this is just very, very thin 6mm ply. But what I'm going to do is, you can kind of just about see this on the camera, we're going to create a kind of composite. So this is going to be sandwiched with aluminium. So it'll have a wooden core and then the aluminium bonded to the surface, which will make it, for all intents and purposes, look like it's made of metal. It'll have the surface strength of metal, but of course it'll have the lightness of the wood. It's also quite nice having this space, because normally there would be a Batmobile parked here, but there isn't. So I can get in and I can cut my piece of wood. Epic amounts of rain. It just hasn't stopped for 24 hours. Unbelievable. So we're here with the laser cutter on in the background. It's really, really noisy. And I'm sticking on thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of neoprene scales. Oh, don't you just love building dragons? There's probably a song there somewhere, isn't there? I love building dragons. I love building dragons. I love building dragons. I love building dragons.
Hello and welcome to Painting Rose 2, the movie. Look at her. we designed a very special, I don't know what you call it, rose suspension device. So I can put the dragon upside down, because what I'm doing here is just going round, taking off all the old bits of glue gun, because Master Maker just, you know, slaps glue gun everywhere, and just polishing, giving her a bit of a manicure, because some of the 3D printing was a little bit hairy, and also just, you know, loving her a bit, you know, like you do, and then slapping on a first coat of paint, using my Systems 3, which I always use, with a little bit of pink, a little bit of red, a little bit of white. I just want to get something I can paint into on. So this is literally slap, 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 slap. I'm doing underneath, although obviously that won't show, but I just want to get a bit of colour on all of it to make her look real. There's a bit of that horrible glue gun stuff, disgusting. So just slapping it on. I've diluted it by about 1/3 with water, because I don't want it to be too thick, this first coat. I want it to be a little bit flexible. And then I'll put the thicker layers on top with a sort of pure paint to give it that iridescence. And I'll give you a little bit more detail when I come to that. First, I'm going to go out and have a McDonald's for lunch. Shh, don't tell anyone.
So one of the biggest questions we get asked is, what are these sort of things made of? Now, obviously, things like the tank and the tank transporter were made out of primarily metal. But here is the sort of the trick. It's all recycled. Now, people say, don't be silly, it can't be recycled. What do you mean by recycled? That's exactly what I mean. It's recycled. So, for example, the wheels. These aren't fancy wheels that I've gone and bought from a model shop exactly the right scale. These are mountain board wheels. And I've bought some old mountain boards. I've recycled the wood for the decks. The aluminium and all that stuff is used for other things. And I've used the wheels and the tyres for projects like this. What else is used? All the perspex. This is just old perspex. This is just bits and pieces I get from skips and people give me. And when it's finished, I'll just polish it all up. Here's a perfect example here. Piece of aluminium. This is, obviously it was used maybe on a previous project, or I don't know where it came from, but you can see here it's got all the muck and the glue on the back. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to take off all the muck and glue off the back, and then I've got a nice piece of aluminium I can use for the edging on here. I use a huge amount of this. This is old gazebos. So, you know, you get to see the gazebos that people take out to events, and they're all going to fold around in the wind and they fall to pieces. And then I just see if I can scrounge the metal off them, and then basically I use that to build frames for things like this. There's another bit of steel there. It's all a bit rusty. I'll clean it all up, but again, it will be used for trim on that. Old table legs. You know, all sorts of things. This one is probably going to be, again, same as the tank, 90% recycled. I mean, this wood here, again, this is just very thin ply. It was actually not much good. Now, if I can find a bit that I can show you. Right. Ooh. Here's a bit here. So you can't actually see it on this bit. It's quite thin, but it's all delaminating. So it's really not much good to anybody that's making anything fancy, because it's all delaminating. But what I can do is I'm only using it as kind of shapes and formers. I can then just drill it and fill it with glue, and then it's going to be as strong as I need it to be. But again, it's all recycled.